Okay, welcome everybody. We are going to get into some really fun stuff. Some of those videos you saw last week as examples, we're going to show you how to create those. We're going to get into the video editing aspect, and even so much, we're going to go into creating online recitals as well with those video editing skills. So Brandon, again, is going to be our presenter today. And he has a lot of experience with video editing for Piano Marvel's uh, creatives as well as for our online recitals for our personal studio. And so, and he has a special announcement of an additional resource that he'll talk about as well. So I will give it over to you, Brandon, to get into the video editing.
Okay. And do you want to go over like the Zoom and the YouTube afterwards, or do you want to do that before so we don't run out of time?
We can do it after. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me back. For those that weren't here last week, I presented then as well. And this is basically part two of that initial presentation. We've really been trying to hit a recording and editing type of themes hard this month, with February being the month that we're doing the YouTube competition. It's a great time to brush up on some of these skills, or to learn some new skills when you're putting your performances out there, just to help them stand apart, make them feel, professional and polished. And so last week we focused on what we can do before and during a recording to make sure you've got good audio and video, to make sure that it's balanced, that your mics are balanced, that the if you have multiple cameras, that the white balance on those are balanced so that you don't get warm tones on one source and cooler tones on another. Just little things like that can be distracting. You may not even notice them until afterwards, and then it's kind of too late. So there's some stuff you can do preventative wise to do some things, and then while you're recording, just be aware of the background, any distractions that there might be. Be careful with motion. Some motion is good, but you can overdo it, or if you are using motion and don't have tools like a gimbal or a tripod, you can end up having jittery motion that distracts as well. So that was what we all talked about last week. If you weren't here, you can go back and access the recording for that one in the Teacher Live playlist. But today we're going to focus on more of the editing that you can do after recording. So in post-production, you finished recording, and there are things that you can do there as well to make your performance look even better. Um, Before we get into it, I just wanted to make a mention of a few things. There may be some or maybe many here that don't do a whole lot with recording or online, having an online presence with your studio. Um, Maybe you're not submitting to the YouTube competition, and you don't have like recorded coursework that you put out for your studio or online recitals. So you might be wondering if it's even worthwhile to be here, or if anything applies to you today. One thing I would just suggest is, even if you do everything live and in person, you might want to consider at least trying something like an online recital. Doesn't have to be all the time, maybe once a year or something. But the reason I say that is because having these types of recitals can allow you to do things, and allow your students to do things that are hard or difficult or just downright impossible to do in a live performance. The live performances are great. They help with learning how to overcome, that fear of public performance, how to deal with mistakes in real time and that. But there's some things you can learn with these online recitals as well. So for example, if you include your students in the editing process, it can allow them to explore a whole new realm of creativity beyond just the musical performance that they're creating. They can go in and add things like visual effects, animations, title cards, just all sorts of things, and allows them to just add those extra elements of creativity that can make them shine even more and can often be really fun for the student. Uh, it can allow you to do other things that are really hard to or impossible to do in a live performance. For example, when we do an online recital, we have a blooper reel that we often include at the end. Well, as people are recording and that, obviously there's a process to get from where you start to your polished product or performance. And so we encourage students to, as they're recording all that, it all gets caught on film, the mistakes and everything, the flaws. We encourage them to submit any, bloopers that they want to submit. And then at the end, after we've watched this polished performance, we can actually have a little bit of fun and we can celebrate the learning process of getting to that polished part. So we can watch those mistakes. We can watch the funny things that come up. That can include parents that are trying to record and are having their own learning moments. But it allows us to not take ourselves too seriously and realize that mistakes are part of the creative process. And it's often one of the most fun, entertaining parts of the recital. That's really hard to do in a live setting. So another reason to do something online. And then it allows you to do some really fun, creative things with recitals beyond just what you might traditionally do. For example, we did an online recital and did a silent film recital where we took a silent film and we took out the original soundtrack and then we assigned segments of the movie. It was an old 1920 Buster Keaton film. We assigned segments of the movie to different students, and then they actually composed a programmatic piece of music that went with what was going on in the movie. So if there was a chase scene, it might be really fast and intense. If the villain appeared, people would create ominous music or maybe something with a minor slant to it. And so then we were able to put all of those soundtracks to the movie and watch it together. And it was really fun and entertaining. Some of you, if you were in the Piano Marvel Teacher Conference 2 years ago, we showed a few clips of that. If there's time today, I might show that. But that's something you could maybe do live. But again, with the magic of editing and recording, you can get it all synced up, and then you don't have to worry, when you're live if someone's gonna mess up or get off sync with the movie. So those are just a few reasons maybe to consider doing something a little bit, out of the norm, and trying something new. Because even with a live in-person studio, this stuff is great. Not to mention all the things we talked about last week, like recording these recitals will give those students those memories that they can have and they can see that their progress from year to year. So um, speaking of trying something new, I just wanted to give a shout out to Josh Harris. I don't know if he's here today, but he was here last week. And
He is here.
okay, well, Josh, I'm just going to put you on the spot for a minute. Last
That's
week
all
we were.
right.
It's good. It's good. Don't worry. Last week we were talking about ways to mitigate unwanted motion, and I said you can use like a tripod or a gimbal. And Josh spoke up and he said, "Oh yeah, I've always kind of wanted to try using a gimbal. I've never done that, and I think it might help my recording." And so we both live here in the Lubbock area, so I have a gimbal. So I said, "Well, you can borrow mine," or he has to borrow mine. So I brought it over to him last week. And just yesterday, Josh was telling me he had figured out how to work it. He had got it up and running. He had been playing around with some of the features that it has to like auto focus or connect on a subject. And he had basically, learned this new skill, and he was excited to apply it in what, in his future recordings. So just a shout out to Josh for trying something new and making that work.
Yeah,
Uh,
anybody who's interested in those, they're pretty cool. I hadn't used one before, so I appreciate you
Yeah,
letting me borrow it, and it's a lot of fun.
yeah. And really a lot of it's just beating the inertia of, overcoming the fear or the reluctance of trying something new. Once you dive in, you might think, oh, I can't do this or it's overwhelming. But if you take it in, just baby steps or bits and pieces, it's often not as bad as you think. So, um, okay, like I said last week, if there are questions, feel free to ask them as we go. If there's something specific that you want to talk about, I'm just going to try to get some very basic stuff in. Due to time constraints, can't get too deep here, but if there's a direction that you want to go, feel free to, chime in. And also, there's a lot of people here that do a lot of this as well, and probably know a lot more than I do. So feel free to chime in as well if anyone has anything to add, because I don't consider myself to be the resident expert here by any means. Um, okay, so before we get into the actual editing, I want to share my screen and show you there's a lot of different options when it comes to choosing video editing software. So I just made a list of some of them. I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to share my screen rather than just talk about them. And then you can take a screenshot, or if you want to, you can review the recording of this later if you can't note all these down. But just hang on for a minute here while I pop over to this screen. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So here's just a list of a few of the video editing software options that I found out there that are available. These are not all created equal. They're like cars. Some of them are specifically designed to excel in certain areas, but they may not excel in other areas. Some of them you have to pay for. Others have free options. Those free options can be more or less robust, just depending on the company. But this is a group that can at least get you started into looking into what might work for you. The one we're using today isn't on here. It's called Camtasia. We use that in our studio because of the type of recording we do. It works best for us. We have multi-pronged recordings going on. Like we have our screen recorded, we use our webcam, we have an overhead, and Camtasia has been just a great one to easily kind of seamlessly put all those together. But you may find something else works better for the type of setup that you have. Um, some of these are like iMovie. You can obviously use with Apple products, and that's often one that you have available to you already on your device. DaVinci Resolve is a really robust one. I liken it, I think I mentioned this last week. It's more like a stick shift car versus Camtasia would be more like an automatic car. So Camtasia will do a lot of things for you, but like with DaVinci Resolve, you have to understand the editing process a little bit better, but it gives you some more customization and the ability to further refine things. So,
And
and
that, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, and DaVinci Resolve has a free version that like even blows away some of the paid versions of a lot of other um, software out there. So, but it does have a little bit steeper learning curve. Um, I think we've tried Filmora and Apple or Adobe Premiere when we were checking some of them out, and they're highly ranked too, but they just didn't have quite what we needed. Final Cut Pro, I think we checked out. So um, here, these are some ones that I've come across. If anyone else here uses something else that they like, you can feel free to let us know why you use it and how it works for you. If not, then we'll just move on here. one thing about Camtasia is just since we're using it today, there is a fee for it. It's a one-time fee that you buy it. They do kind of pressure you to upgrade you open it up in 6 months or so after you've gotten your latest upgrade, and they'll have a new one out, and they'll often add a few bells and whistles to kind of sweeten the deal, but you don't have to upgrade every year. As long as you're okay with what you've got, that can be a one-time purchase. But that is one that does require a fee. Okay, so one more thing before we actually dive into some basic editing. Due to the time constraints we have today, we are going to have to keep it fairly basic. And that's just, we also have found out, I work with the marketing team in Piano Marvel, and we've found out that when we present Piano Marvel to people, if we try to go over all the features that it has, it's just overwhelming. And it's exciting because we want people to know everything about it, but it works so much better if we just take a couple of one or two features and then just really focus on those and start out. And that often will pique people's interest. I'm hoping that happens today. I think for some of you, this might be really basic, but I do want to let you know we have some kind of, I think, fun and exciting news. For those of you that have gone through the teacher certification program, up till now, we've had kind of just a basic mandatory set of courses that you go through for that. But we are actually about to branch out and add some expansion courses to that are more like electives or optional courses that will allow you to dive into different areas of how you can use Piano Marvel or other tools with Piano Marvel. There's, I think, maybe 4 or 5 coming out, but some of them are still in the process of being finished up, so I won't announce them all. But one of them that we're putting out is a course on video editing, specifically creating an online piano recital. And that's one that
Brand,
yes.
just so you know, I just published it. It's live.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one's out there. That's exciting because we've been working on this for some time. But basically, I take you through a much more in-depth look at what to do in editing. Right now, I think there might be an 11 or 12 segments out there, and I take one or two features or maybe three in a segment and go over them. So if you have gone through the Piano Marvel Teacher Certification course, the original one, you should have access to that if you go back in there. Um, for those who haven't been certified, this is another good reason to do so. There's just a lot of tools, and like I said, we'll have even more additional courses out there. So definitely, if you're feeling like we didn't get into it enough today, go check those out. And we
And
might
if
be
we
at,
have
go
if
ahead.
we have time at the end, I can kind of give them an overview of what's in the course.
Okay. All right. Great. Oh, are there any questions before we start? Okay, I am going to go back and share my screen again. Um, got so much up here, it takes just a minute. Okay, so what we're looking at here is what comes up when I open up Camtasia. Just so if you're curious, I'm not using the most current version. I'm using Camtasia 2022. I don't upgrade every year just because it's not generally worth the expense. But every now and then they'll come out with something new, and I'll be like, oh, that might be nice to have. But so today I'm currently working on Camtasia 2022. So this is the screen that will come up. You've got a couple of icons up here. Um, you can well, down below that you've got some of if you've been working in Camtasia, you've got some of your recent projects, and you can see them here. But up here, if you want to start a new project, You just click that, you'll get a blank slate, and you can just start creating, adding files and that. There are some actual template forms that can help you get started that you can start out with that here next to that. You can open up a project that you've been working on. If it doesn't show up down here in your recent projects, you can click this open project icon, or you can click on this new recording icon, and it will open up, it will start recording on your screen, and you can direct it kind of like Zoom. You can direct it to which window you want to record, whether you want to record sound like internal source or external. So there's some cool options if you just want to jump in and record something on your computer there. For today, we're just going to come over here and start a new project. So I'll go ahead and click on that one. And then I'm going to need to change my screen share, it looks like. Okay. All right. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go into Camtasia, this is what you're going to see. And I'm just going to highlight a few of the sections because a lot of the video editing software um, displays or configurations are similar to this. They'll look a little different, but they have a lot of the same components. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, we've got some of the features that are available. Right now, we're currently in the media bin, and this is something you'll see in most software applications for editing. This is where you basically import or uh, upload files that you've recorded. So you've recorded it on your phone or your camera, you get it transferred to your computer, or maybe you airdrop it or whatever, and then it's on your computer somewhere, but you now need to get it into Camtasia. So this is the first place you're going to want to go to import that media. You've got this import media icon. Once you get something in here, that disappears, and then after that, you can come down to this plus, and and then you can hit import media here. So we'll do that in just a minute, but I just want to go briefly over some of these other areas as well. You've got the library here. You can put any type of files that you use regularly. Let's say you do courses and you want to have an intro that plays, every time before one of your courses. You can create that in Camtasia, export it, and then upload it here to the library, and then it's always there for any project that you have. It's basically like having a bunch of template files at the ready for whenever you need them. Camtasia also has some of these, some templates for like, here's some audio tracks that you can use, uh, like clap and stomp if you want a rhythm. Uh, Actually, I don't know. Can you hear that? I think I need to,
Did you share your sound when you shared your screen?
yeah, I got to do that. Let's see.
Here, I'll stop your share and then you can do it.
Okay. So like we can click on this clap stomp soundtrack. Can you hear that now?
Yeah.
And that's, that might be a background if you're, wanting to have some peppy, background sounds to make something sound exciting. We can go back into, there's like call outs. These are kind of like a counter would be like a countdown timer. If you needed that, that'll come up. So it has some ready-made components that will save you time having to make some of these in the library if you want to check that out. Okay, annotations is where you do everything that's, text related to your presentation. If you have title cards introducing your student or their piece, what they're playing, this is where you'll create those. And these are with Camtasia, it's just drag and pull. That's the beauty of the automation of Camtasia. So you can just drag one of these and pull it down to your track, and then you've got text that you can then manipulate and type. You can click on this and just say, welcome to our winter recital or something. And then you've got that. That's just a plain text. You can adjust the how big it is and that. If you want a little color behind it, you can choose one of these. We show all of these options. You can choose one with color behind it, and then you can drag it to fill up your whole screen. And then you can make changes to the actual color. That's done over here on the upper right hand side in what's often called the inspector in a lot of programs. It's where you actually, some of the where your a lot of your buttons and dials and sliders are to manipulate what you're doing with a particular element that you're using. So like here, we can go in, we can change the color to whatever we want to. We can slide that around. I also have some preset colors down here that I use for Piano Marvel. They're branding colors, so you can set stuff up that as well. This is the stuff we're not going to delve into, but I just want to give you an overview to let you know that it's out there. And then you've got visual effects you can do here. You can add color filters, you can add borders, you can add shadows, you can add masks if you want to focus on one part of your screen and block out the rest. If you're using a green screen, you can use this remove a color feature to remove the green screen behind you, and then you can put some sort of background stock photo or video behind you. And really, at least in Camtasia, they make it really easy to do a lot of this stuff. You can change a clip speed if you want to. If you're showing how to assemble something and it takes a long time, you can show it at twice the speed or 5 times the speed, or you can slow it down if you're trying to emphasize something. So that's there as well. Transitions is one we're going to use today, and this is just moving from one video clip to another in a smooth way. There's basic ones like just going fading to black or fading in from black, but then you can also have all sorts of fun, fancy effects like arrows that transfer from one uh, clip to the next. You can have like barn door style opening. You have zoom. You have blurs. The list just goes on and on. Today we're just going to do some simple fade to blacks and fade into black, fade in from black. But this is one you may use a lot when you're putting together a performance. There's a lot here. I would caution against using too many effects in one video because it can be distracting. But it does give you some options for different scenarios if you want to play around. If you go to this more field, it'll pop up a whole bunch of other features that can be used. You can add animations like zooming in to a clip, or zooming out, or adding like an arrow that animates and points to something. So that's a fun one. Behavior can change how your text moves around on your screen. Audio effects are a must usually for like doing things like getting your audio normalized so that if one student has recorded at a very high audio level volume and another one's quiet, you can use that to like compress your audio and normalize it so they all are, so one doesn't blow you away and then the next one you can't hear. You can do voice narration and on and on. Again, I don't want to, we don't have time to go into all that, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview tour. Okay, so today we're basically going to focus on bringing in files to your into Camtasia, putting them down on a track, trimming those tracks, syncing up the sound. If you have two different angles that you're recording, the same performance, they're both going to have sound. You'll want those synced up or the video itself is not going to sync up. We'll actually remove one of those soundtracks, so we just have the one, but you want to get them synced up initially so that when you cut from one clip to the other, it's seamless. You're at the same point and the audio are lined up. So we'll do that as well, and then add some transitions and maybe a title card. And we probably won't have much time for anything else. But if there is a question you have or there's something you want to look into beside that, please let me know. And you can also check out those courses that Cami just made available. Okay, so we're going to go back up to the media bin. Are there any questions before we dive in initially?
I have a fast question. I'm just curious, and I hate to ask questions that I probably should know the answer to. So this is pretty much similar to iMovie with a MacBook Air, except that it's maybe more sophisticated.
Yes. Yeah, you can look at it as, and sometimes you may, iMovie or something like that may be sufficient. You know, you can just do a few cuts or trims or fades right there on on your phone or your Mac, and that may be good enough. Using one of these programs is just adds a few extra bells and whistles.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, iMovie was one of those that was on that sheet I just showed. And I've used that one as well, and there's quite a bit in there too. So it's just like, you know, going to the store and buying a car. What's important is performance most important, is safety, reliability. You know, you just this is where you're going to have to do a little bit of homework or research and decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do in my studio.
Welcome to Wondershare for Morris. Welcome to Wondershare for Morris. 60 seconds, no more in the.
Whoops, what that was. Sorry about that. So does that answer your question, Mike?
It does. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to go back up to the media bin here. And right now it's blank, but if we hit this import media, it's going to take me to, you know, a window where I can go in and find a file that I want to pull in. So I like to put all the files I'm going to use into one folder so I'm not having to switch around to different folders to find what I need. So like for today, I put a bunch of files here in this folder that I titled Teacher Live Presentation. So I've got a couple of recitals that we've done here that I might refer to later. But if I want to pull one of those in, I just hit that import media file and then come over and click on one and come down here and hit import. And then now you'll see that it has appeared up here in the media bin. And you can actually go over to the side and start scrolling over with this hand, and you can kind of scrub through and see if you've got the right file. If it's like, yep, this is the recital I want, you can preview it all right there. Now, to actually do any work on this, we've got to pull it down to this bottom section where it has our tracks. This is where you do all of the actual manipulation of the video and audio. So I will, with Camtasia, again, it's just click, hold, and drag it down till you put it on a track here. And so now you'll see it has appeared, the tracks here. You can see it has sound because of these sound wave looking waves that appear. If you take this play head here, that's going to show you where you are in the actual video. So as I scroll through, you can see up here on what's called the canvas here, it's showing what the playhead is on. So that's like where, if it was like an old record player, that's where the needle is on the record player. So you can then see up here, and what's up here in this canvas is what you're going to, what's actually going to be created. So this is the window that you'll be seeing what you're doing, seeing the effects of what you're doing down here on the track. Now, before we get further, the first thing that I should have done, and this is imperative, is you want to set your dimensions for your presentation. If you're putting something out on YouTube as a traditional YouTube video, the dimensions are going to be different than if you're like putting something out as an Instagram reel. So you'll want to set those dimensions before you get going here, because if you've got the wrong dimensions and you get it all set up according to what you've got on your screen, and then you realize after the fact you needed something else, it's a pain to change that. So to do that, I'm just going to take this track out for a minute. You can come up here to this black canvas area and just right click on a PC or hit Control and click on a Mac, and you'll get these options here. You're going to want to go to Project Settings, and then it will give you some options to change your dimensions. These are in pixels, and it has some in the dimensions field here. It has some preset fields for you. So for example, if you want to do something for YouTube, a traditional YouTube video, you'll use this FHD one here. It's 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels high. And then you can hit apply here, and you can see that you've got a rectangular screen that's wider than it is higher, than it is high. But let's say you want to do something with Instagram, like a reel. Come back to project settings here. The ratios are actually flipped for this. And you can also, they have a prefabricated one here for that as well. It's this 9:16 ratio. And if you do that, now the width is 1080 pixels and the height is 1920. If we hit apply and then look at it, we can see now it's a rectangular window that's higher rather than wide. And that's just to, fit the orientation of your phone. YouTube, you're traditionally shooting in landscape where you've got your phone turned sideways like this. With Instagram Reels and that, you'll want to do portrait mode where you're just holding it as you naturally would hold your phone. So we're gonna, since we're doing a recital here, I'm gonna go back to what I would do for YouTube settings, because that's where we publish ours. And you can also enter these manually if you want to. And then you can lock the ratios here so that if you ever change the ratios, if you ever change the height and width, the actual proportions stay correct. And go ahead and hit, whoops. Apply. Okay, now we're back to the YouTube dimensions. Okay, so I showed you how to pull in media using this import media, but sometimes you may have like videos or special effects from another Camtasia project that you just want to easily pull over. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to bring over some tracks of my daughter playing a piece, and we're going to work on those. I already have her uploaded in another file, so this is an easy way to bring them over. So this is a finished recital that I've got here. You can see we've got several tracks here. This is my daughter here. I've got two shots of her. I've got this side shot and then an overhead. I'm just going to actually go up to the media bin in this finished recital. Scroll down here. And here are the two tracks we're going to use, the two clips we're going to use. I can just grab that and pull that down to my track in my other Camtasia program. And that will simultaneously put it up here in the media bin. So it's now stored in this Camtasia file, but it will also put it down here on the track. And then I'm going to take this other video of her and do the same thing.
Oh, can I insert something here?
Yeah.
One thing we learned is how important it is to label each of your videos clearly, because when they're in the media bin, it's much easier to find what you're wanting to work with if the name is really clear about what it is. So I'm just noticing it says Charlie side shot, Charlie overhead. Like you went in and named them those so you could find them easily.
Right. That's huge, especially when you start getting multiple tracks and layers. It can get confusing because you see that you've got two video uh, tracks laid down, but especially if like you're zoomed out because you're getting more and more out here, it becomes harder to see what's down in the little visual icon. And so yeah, having those labeled in a way that's easy for you to see is will save you a ton of time. So yeah, that's a good suggestion to keep that in mind, Cam. Okay, so I have put these two shots of Charlie down here. I'm actually going to flip and put the overhead up on track two and the side shot down below. I can cut and paste, or I can just come over here to this track one, click and hold it and move it up, and it will move it up. So now my overhead's on top. It doesn't matter, but I just often have a system, so I know where things are. Again, the organization is half the battle. So now if we look up here on the canvas or the monitor here, we can see that both of these shots are up here. If I select this top one, we've got her playing on the keyboard, the overhead view. It's turned sideways and it's not sized right. So we're going to have to do something on that one. And then behind that, we've got her actual side one. And that looks pretty good. We won't have to do much on that one. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get this overhead shot oriented right. To do that, I just can go up to one of these kind of circle bubble looking things. It will turn white. I can just click on that and start pull. I'm sorry. That's for size. I come down to this center circle here. It's connected to this circle with an X. It'll turn green. I can click and hold on that and just adjust the orientation till I've got it how I want. If we come over here to the inspector, we know that it's squared up now because the Z coordinate here is at -90. So we know it's at a 90-degree angle from where it was. Now we can take this, put it up here in the corner and pull one of these outer circles and bring it out to fill the whole screen. So now we've got this. But as I'm looking at it, I don't really like the fact that there's this big area with just a keyboard and a mouse. That looks kind of distracting. So you can crop your files if you want to cut out unwanted parts. To do that, there's a bunch of icons up here. We're on the select icon here, this arrow. This hand icon allows you to move things around. But the one we want is the next one, this square here. That's our crop. That's our crop tool. If we click here now, we get this blue box around, and we can grab one of these squares. It will turn blue, and then we just drag this down, and it will cut out that part of the video. So now we've just got the keyboard here, and that can, take out some of the distraction. That also allows, you can see now that you can have video behind that. And right now we've got the other track, but you may have seen when I pulled up that other video of the finished product, I actually have a picture of a river flowing back here where Charlie's side shot is, where her face is. I actually have a river flowing there. So as you're watching her play on the overhead, you see this river as well because she's playing the piece of river flows in you. So cropping that out can also allow you to add some background effects and some motion and movement to make it look interesting. Okay, for now though, I'm going to say this top one's okay. But obviously now we need to be able to switch between the two tracks and not have them showing up simultaneously. But before we do that, we want to get our audio synced up. So if I go down here and play this, these are not synced up. You'll notice that right away.
And then I'm going to hit record on
I'm gonna be playing
GarageBand.
Everything recording?
Yep.
So you can see all sorts of things are going on. There's playing when at one point while Cammie's talking. So these are not lined up. You may have heard a couple of claps in there. That is literally what the old clapboards on movies did when it shows them and they've got the clapboard and they're like take two and they clap it. The reason they do that is creating that clap makes a very singular looking sound wave on your track. It's like a kind of a sharp needle looking wave. And so if you've got both of your cameras rolling or your multiple cameras and you do that clap, they're all going to register that. And then all you need to do is go find that needle-like sound wave and try to sync all the tracks up so all of those claps show up at the same spot. So on this top one, for example, right here is the clap. And if I play it, you'll watch the playhead go over it and you hear the clap. On this lower one, though, the clap is way back here at the beginning, right here at the beginning. So now I've got to get those together. So that means on this upper one, I'm going to have to do some trimming. So I'm going to go over here, put the playhead where I want to trim off this excess part to the left. And then there's a bunch of icons over here in the middle of the screen on the left here. The one we want here is this split tool. And you can click on that, or there's also when you hover over it, it says split and has like a Command T option. That's the shortcut key option that you can do a key shortcut. But if we just click on that split, it has now divided this top track into two parts. It cut it right where the playhead was. So now I can get rid of this part I don't need, and I can bring this down. And then this slider here allows you to kind of zoom in on your tracks. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And then I can see over here, here's the clap icon, here's the clap sound wave here, here's the clap sound wave here. So they're not quite lined up. So I'm going to put the playhead really close to this bottom one, and then I'm going to take this one and move it over till they're about lined up, and that's about as good as we're going to get. So now if I play this, we should hear everything in sync.
Today I'm going to be playing River Falls Junior.
Okay, so we are ready to go. We've got them synced up. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to get rid of one of these audio tracks because I only need one, and then I can do all my editing work and manipulation on that one track, and I don't have to worry about a double track or if it gets slightly off. So to do that, I'm going to remove this top one. I just right click on the track or control click on a Mac, and then there's this option to silence audio. Click that and the audio goes away. But we needed that to sync up both of the video clips. So now the video will still be in sync even though we don't have that other audio. I want to get rid of this clap part and start right when she starts announcing her piece. So I'm going to trim off the remaining parts of these tracks that I don't need. You can do that one at a time, or you can hit Command or Control A to select all your tracks, and then you can come up and hit your split tool. That'll get rid of this part you don't need. Now you've got both of them lined up. They start at the same part. They're cut off evenly where they need to. We can hit select all again and just click and hold and move these over to the beginning of the track so that it starts out right away with her presenting her piece. Okay, any questions so far? Again, this is pretty basic, but it's just to kind of pique your interest and get you familiarized with how to just get into the software, because just beating that inertia and jumping in is half the battle for those that never tried it.
Yeah, and I was also going to add that I was talking to Brandon before he was doing this presentation because this is what he's in. He's playing around with editing software on a daily basis. This is what he does for work. So even though these are the basics, if you have never done video editing before and your head is still spinning because you're like, what am I looking at? How is this working? That's totally normal, and we'll have the recording. You can go back, you can watch, you can dissect the different parts of it. But just letting you know that if this feels overwhelming, even though it's the basics, that's totally normal if you've never worked with editing software before. And Brandon, thank you for going through it in a way that's very like consumable. So those of us who don't work in it, it does make sense. But just wanted to assure you that if it still feels overwhelming, it's just a process to learn this stuff.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of that. I kind of self-taught myself, and there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. Like some of them, like DaVinci Resolve, man, they'll have like a 3 hour video on color correction. It's crazy how in-depth these guys get, but that's the beauty of YouTube and the internet days is you can go out and do a lot of, do-it-yourself projects like this just by watching some of those. That's that's kind of how I did. And I learn as I go. Like just this week, I was looking to try a new effect. I wanted to reverse some audio and combine it with some other audio just to create kind of a funky a sound effect. I've never done that before, but I just thought, oh, I wonder if I can do this. So I just quickly, looked up how to do it. It was easy. Um, I went in and did it, and it's now a new skill that I can use when I need to do that. But often as you're creating, ideas will come and you'll be like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. Just go out there. Usually there's a training video of some sort that will help you do some of these things that come to you. So yeah, don't feel overwhelmed. There's definitely resources for you out there. Okay, I know we're kind of running short on time, so I'll try to keep clipping here. What I'm going to do now is I want to switch between the two tracks. So an easy way to do that is to just keep these tracks together, one overlaid over the other. And I'm going to have Charlie on this first part.
Today I'm going to be playing River Falls Junior.
So that first phrase that she just played, I just want to show her here on the side view. She's because she's talking to the camera at that point as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top track. I don't want to see that at this part. So I'm going to actually select both of them. Again, cut or Control T, Command T. I've now segmented that right here so they've been divided. And so on this first part, I'm going to take this upper track 2, come over here to the inspector. You can change like how big it zoomed in or zoomed out. You can rotate, you can move the position, but the one thing we're going to do is change the opacity here. So right now that top track is 100%. I'm going to lower that to 0. As I do that, for this section here, it has now disappeared. So now all we're seeing is this lower track. Okay, but now she's going to go in and play that same phrase again. So to add interest, I'm going to switch angles. So now I want just the overhead. So we'll go and do the exact opposite here on these. We'll select both of these tracks here, and you can click and drag and pull down here. You're not going to want to do select all, or it's going to select these others that you've already got where you want them, and it will change their specs, and then that'll mess it up. So just select the two that you want over here, and now we're going to switch it. So the top track, well, actually, we'll do them one at a time. So the top track here, we're going to keep it 100%, but now the bottom track, we're going to reduce the opacity. So now if we go back here, we've got that same phrase played twice. We've added a different angle to just add some interest since we're hearing the same thing. And you'll find natural breaks where you'll want to switch to a different perspective. Right here, there's a little bit of some waiting time where she's not playing. So you may actually want to You can adjust these, just click and hold and pull these down, pull these tracks over. So we stay longer on this other view rather than just showing your hands doing nothing. So you can play around with that a little bit. Okay, one other thing I want to go over is when we do this transition, it's pretty abrupt. And often you're going to want to, fade into something. So that's where we go up and add transitions. And that's one of these features up here in the feature box here. So if we go to transitions, there's a whole bunch of them here. I'm just going to do a simple fade. There's so many of them here. You can go try search for it, but you can also just type fade up here and it will bring up all the fade options. We're just going to do a simple fade here. So what I'm going to do, you just click on this, pull and drag it down until you get this green plus button, and then these two green tabs will show up. That shows that it has added the effect to that track. I'm going to take that same fade and put it down below on here. So now when we go through and go to that transition, you can see that it gradually fades in. So that's a less abrupt transition. Sometimes you will want an abrupt one, but often you'll want to have a fade like that. You can have special effects where maybe you want to show two angles at once. In that case, you could take your tracks and set them both the opacity to like 50%. And then you've got kind of this cool effect where you're seeing both at the same time. This is something you'll just want to play around with as something comes to your head. You're like, I wonder if that looks good. Feel free to try it. You can always, Command Z or Control Z is your friend. That'll undo whatever you've done. So if I don't like this, I'm typing Command Z here and I go back to what I had. One thing I would suggest though is absolutely save regularly, especially with Camtasia. Unfortunately, it crashes a fair amount. That is one thing that I do not like about it. But if you save regularly, it's going to save you a lot of going back and extra work. So just every, couple of minutes, 2 or 3, maybe 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing, just save that so that if you do lose something, it's not the end of the world. To save, you just come up here to File, like you would in a lot of programs, and hit Save. Make sure that it's in the folder that you want to keep it in. I have so many projects for different things. I have some for our piano studio. I have some for Piano Marvel. So I want to make sure that they're organized where I know they are at. So make sure you have folders organized and then make sure that they are where they need to be. Okay, I know we're kind of out of time. If people need to go, this will be recorded. You can see this a little bit at the end, but I do want to go over two more things: how to add a simple title card and how to export your video so that it's in a form that can be uploaded to YouTube or watched, on a computer, like in an MP4 format or something. So first
Can
of all,
I just, in case Keith needs to go, he did have a question. So I wondered if we could address that question for him before we move into the
sure.
next things. Okay, so he says it looked like the aligning of the tracks didn't need to be very precise. How closely do they need to be aligned?
So that'll depend on how zoomed in you are. As you zoom out, it looks like you need less precision. As you zoom in, you'll see that there is a little bit of overlap. Right now, I'm working in 30 frames per second. You can go up to like 60 frames per second. I I do these files are so huge that I just usually stick to 30 frames per second because they're already so huge with all that I put in them. But usually I find that if you're off by just a frame or two, maybe three, in a 30 frame per second setting, you're you may not notice it. It depends on how complex the audio is and how many other audio parts are going on in the background. But really, the best way to know is line them up and then start the playhead and listen to it. If you hear like an echo or a double, I could let me just offset this by 1, 2, 3. Let's just offset it by that much and see what it sounds like. Oh, I don't have, and I'm going to add that other audio back in. I can hit restore audio here. See, you can already tell just with 3 frames in this instance, it's very noticeable. So I would say it is, it is pretty refined. You do have to have them pretty synced up. But if you're not quite sure exactly, just run through, listen to it. And if you hear that it's off, just move one or 2 frames, keep playing it back until you have it where it is. And then you can eyeball it and kind of say, oh, okay, like here, technically this top one looks like it's a little bit more into the sound wave than the bottom one, but it's just how each device recorded it. I know that that's good enough just from doing this so much. So you'll get to where you eyeball it after you've messed around with, listening. You can kind of say, yeah, that's good enough. I don't, that is perfect. So does that answer your question, Keith?
Yes, thank you. I was thinking maybe you'd have to align it where, where you was within one wave, but you don't, since they're frame by frame, you can't do that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it's more using your frames, and up here by the playhead, it will show you where you're at. So we're at 11 seconds and then 11 frames. That goes up to 30 and then it goes to the next second. So we're at 11 seconds, 11 frames, and that can help you as well to sync things up by making sure that if you know you need something right at 11 seconds and 10 frames, then you can set your playhead up there and then come down here and move this till it gets to where the end of the playhead where the playhead needle is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a title card here. So we would put this at the beginning. So I need some space here. This will announce what Charlie is playing, my daughter, and like who the composer is. So I'm going to select everything by control or command A. I'm going to click and hold on one of these tracks and it will take them all. And I'm just going to move it over to about 4 seconds. And I know that by the playhead up here, this 4 second notation here. Now I'm going to go up to annotations in the feature box here. And I'm going to choose this one here because I want some color behind it. So I'm going to bring this down. It creates a 5 second call out by default, but you can shorten that. Maybe I just want it to be 4. So you can just click on the end here and pull, click and hold and pull. And when it comes to the next track, you'll get this yellow line. That means it's completely lined up, that they're connected there. So I'm going to bring this down to track 1. I'm going to come over here. Now I'm just showing this call out because I'm over here off of the actual performance tracks. I'm going to bring this up, have it fill the whole screen. My daughter likes pink, so I'm going to change the color over here in the inspector to a pink. And then I'm going to go in here to the text. So right now, to change that color to pink, if we come over here to the inspector, it's this speech bubble looking icon. If I want to change or manipulate the text, I can come over to this letter A. This will show you your font. So if you have a special font you want to use, you can change that. You can make it bold or italic here. You can also change the color. We're going to leave it as white. But you can also change the size here. I want this bigger. I'm going to bring this up. And then all I have to do is go over here and click on the text. It will highlight it, and I can put whatever text I want to. Okay, this is a little bit too big. I want the title to be on the one line, so I'm going to lower this down. To do that, you've got to go out of it, click back on it, and then size it up until it is there. And then maybe I want to put like who it was by. I think that's who it is. Okay, so now we have this title card that introduces what Charlie's going to play. I'm going to go up to transitions again. I'm going to drag down one of these fades to put at the beginning, and then also to put here where we go into her actual playing. So now this is what it's going to look like.
Today I'm going to be playing River Falls Junior.
And so that's an easy way of putting in a title card. You can make those fancy. I often go out and find some stock graphic or something like for our summer recital. I had all these summer motifs like beaches and popsicles and stuff of designs that I put behind for the title card. But that gives you an idea of how to create one of those. Okay, now once you've created this, and I'm going to save this here. Once you've created this in Camtasia, you now have to actually create a file that can be used that's an actual video file, because right now it's in a format that you can't just show like or upload to YouTube. So to do that, you need to come up to this export icon here up in the upper right hand corner and hit export. And then you have some options here. You can export it to your computer. That would be the local file option here. Or if you're trying to put this out on YouTube, there's even like a option here where it will upload it directly to your YouTube channel right here. So in this case, we're just going to create a local file here. I click on that, and then again, it will ask you to name it. So I'm going to put Charlie Recital. And then I'm going to leave it in this teacher live presentation. And then I just come down here and hit export. And you'll get this status bar that shows how long it takes. This one won't take too long because it's just uh, a couple of minutes long. But some of these big projects, like when we put together a whole recital of everyone, it can take a while to export. Just be aware that that's normal, and it just be patient. When it says export finish, it will have this alert, and then you can either close this alert or you can reveal in Finder. If you hit reveal in Finder, it will show you where it's been saved and actually give you access to that file. Now you can pull that up and you can play it in like QuickTime Player or VLC or whatever you use for your player.
Today I'm going to be playing River Falls Junior.
Okay, so we can see all those edits we made are in there, and now this is ready to be uploaded to YouTube. So I know we didn't get through a whole lot, but hopefully that gets you started. Again, you can check out the course I have out there that goes through a lot of these other options if you've gone through the certification program. Are there any other questions?
Okay.
If not, I just want to show you one of our finished recitals, just an intro to give you an idea of some of the other cool things you can do. Let me just go back. Is that okay, Cam? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So here's our last recital we did. It's oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Let me go back and share my screen. Okay, so here's our last recital we did this last winter. And I just want to show you the intro that we did, just to show you some of the possibilities of what you can do to make it fun and entertaining. So because it was our winter recital, we had a winter theme. So here's the intro that we did for this. So that gives you an idea of kind of what you can do above and beyond what we got into today. It's really fun to do some of this stuff, and it makes the recitals fun, and it's just it's I think we innately like to create, and this not only, and that's why a lot of us are passionate about music, but this just adds some extra elements of creativity. So hopefully that was helpful to people, and I think that's all I've got for today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Brandon. That was great. That was really awesome to dig into all the details of how to get started with it. I am just for one quick second going to show the course and what you can really get into from the course. And by the way, Brandon is the instructor in this course. So if you go through it, he's going to be the one that you're in contact with questions and helping you out with things. But if you go to the teacher training portal, and there should now be this new course in there called Creating Performance Videos Certification. And the way to split up is they go over, why creating videos, and then how to record, how to create the video. And then the editing is all about how to create an online recital. And so he will go into detail to show you everything you can do. Well, I shouldn't say everything because the possibilities are endless, but a lot of the things that you can get into to make really fun online recitals for your students. And also how to create a YouTube premiere and host a watch party. And also things like using a green screen, some specialized kind of things you can do. And of course, the Piano Marble YouTube competition, which has how many days? 3 more days left. For those of you who still are wanting to submit videos of yourself or students, 3 days left for the YouTube competition. So yeah, this is now live. You can go check it out. Any questions before we end this recording?
So when do you sign up for that course?
If you have already purchased the Piano Marble teacher certification, it will automatically show up now. So just go to your account and go to teacher training courses, and it should be there. So nothing extra. It's included if you have already purchased the Piano Marble teacher certification.
So if you have a question halfway through whatever you're looking at, we just contact you to see if we can get the question answered, or
I would contact Brandon. Because if you contact me, your question may not get a fulfilling answer. And if you contact Brandon, he will answer that more better. So yeah, I would definitely contact Brandon. And his contact information is in the course itself. But if you're wanting to reach out to him, it's just brandon@pianomarble.com. It's BRANDON at pianomarble.com. And so you're welcome to reach out to him with questions, but we look forward to seeing creations that you make or having you enjoy playing around with editing. It's really, really fun to see the possibilities of what you can do with it. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And did I miss any questions in the chat? Let me see here. Oh, Cheryl says thank you. Keith says, I like the winter video effects. Thank you for the presentation. Great. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. We'll send out the recording. You can watch it again. Go explore the new course, and we will see you next week, next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye now.
you.
See ya.